It's been so long since we've done a Thursday night gig, but here we go. I'll try to remember my cues and my beats. But here we are. You may be seeing or hearing some things through the grapevine that things are changing here at DadBod D&D. We are moving away from the DadBod moniker and going more towards, not more towards, all the way in to FeatherFall TableTop. So you'll see that kind of popping up. We're trying to put formerly DadBod D&D for a while, just so nobody freaks out. Not gonna do what you think I'm gonna do, and we just want to ease into this. So you're seeing some of the artwork change and the names change, and just know this is for us to be more inclusive with the community and just feel like everybody and anybody can come and play a game with us and hang out and share a table with. But two, you're still going to get the same awesome content that we are throwing out there. We got our Waterdeep going on. We moved that to Wednesday nights. We want some Friday nights free with the family, so we moved that to Wednesday nights. We have big announcement with a second campaign coming to the channel. That is The Gods We Know, run by Adam Aslamis. You've seen him on some of the one-shots before. Ink and Ignorance, Doug, Jen Quixote, and Cole Morales, I think. Did I get it right? You've seen them all on the channel before in various one-shots. They are coming together to create one magical force of D&D 5e homebrew. So kind of excited about that. They're taking a week off, and then they'll do some session zeros on Tuesday the 24th or 23rd, whatever that Tuesday is. 24th, and then one more week off, and then they're going into session one, and I'm excited to see where that goes. Tons of creative people there, just ready to go. For the podcast, what you know as the podcast is now called FeatherFall TableTalk. And we are here. Same content. We're going to cover D&D, culture, pop culture, news, and whatever's out there. We are sponsored by Skull Splitter Dice. Down below, get yourself 10% off your first order. Use the promo code DADBOD. That may change soon, so just be on the lookout. They got tons of new dice coming in all the time. They got their blind bags. They got their metal dice. Check them out. Quality dice, every single set. I think that's it for announcements. Miss anything? All right, so tonight, we are going to talk about, there's been a bunch of subclasses coming out in Unearthed Arcana, which is kind of exciting. It always get a little bit excited when you get all these new options, right? It's more than just a spell, and we get a lot here. So we're going to talk tonight mostly about the Sorcerer and Warlock subclasses that came out, and just kind of, we'll run through some of the nuts and bolts of them and kind of our thoughts and feelings on them, and how we might see them show up in a game. I will say this, it makes me want to get into a character creation setting, because it's like, ooh, I could have used this for my Warlock, but no, I have to wait. And that's okay. I want to talk about the Warlock first, just because that's kind of near and dear to my heart right now, playing a Warlock in our Waterdeep campaign. So the Warlock is the Lurker in the Deep. And I'll read the little intro blurb, and then maybe we can discuss what our thoughts are on that. You made a pact with an entity that lurks somewhere deep in the ocean, or even on the elemental plane of water, such as a mighty kraken, or an ancient primordial, or a monstrous being from creation's earliest days. It's Thursday, man. I am out of words. You serve as this creature's eyes and ears, watching the world beyond its domain and reporting your findings. You may have gained this pact as a member of a cult dedicated to the entity, or after your patron saved your life when you nearly drowned at sea. So there we are, the Lurker in the Deep. So I think this pairs nicely with Saltmarsh that came out a while ago. Water-based campaigns, you might be on the water, but I think it could also work well inland, right? Because we get those lines of being the eyes and the ears of this sea creature. So maybe they want some more info on what's going on inland. But what do you guys think of this kind of skeletal structure of Lurker in the Deep?
I like the idea of a Warlock that has like a water base. I think that's cool. I don't know if I get a whole lot of how that backstory kind of applies to a Warlock. But I mean, obviously, given all the other details, it makes sense, with the spells and everything. But that description kind of feel like it could apply to a lot of different characters. So I'm kind of curious I would love to understand. I don't know if we ever will, why they chose the Warlock for this. But other than that, I think I really like the water idea. I've always kind of loved watery characters, water levels in video games, different story. But I really like you get Crater Destroy Water and Thunder Wave and Gust of Wind and all these cool like cold or water things, and it's just I love that whole theme. It could really fit in with a lot of campaigns, and you could do a lot with a character from the water too, because they could be a pirate, they could be partially sea monster. There's a lot of room to play with there.
Yeah, I think part of maybe why the Warlock is you get this line in there. You may have gained this pact as a member of a cult dedicated to this entity. So you have some sort of bond with this godlike being, right? So now you get your powers from that, as opposed to like a wizard who's just studying, and is kind of an unknown participant in the cult. So I can see that there, and then I like this better. I think I would be more prone to picking this one. Maybe the patron saved your life. Now you're like in debt.
That makes sense. Yeah, a water accident, and all of a sudden you're saved by whatever the patron is under the water. That's really cool.
Bob, what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it's hard. I love the amount of choices you get, and the amount of choices that are coming out. But I feel like too much is gonna just start blending classes, right? So it almost too much. You talk about maybe some of the barbarian that has magic powers before, and if you do too much of this, it starts to blend that class to the fact of you no longer need multi-classing. So you essentially just negate an entire portion of the rulebook, albeit complicated as hell. But so I kind of want to talk about that a little bit more. Do you guys think that? Sure. Do you think it takes away an entire portion of the rulebook doing this?
By the blending of classes, is that what you're alluding to? I think so, definitely. I don't like a barbarian that has a whole bunch of spell abilities, right? That to me is now we're getting into wizards and sorcerers, whatever. It's breaking the stereotype of a barbarian, and I think some parts in the game it's nice to break those stereotypes. We talked about racial ability scores a couple weeks ago. Those things are obviously in need of change, but classes are different, and I do like the barbarian to be a barbarian. Give him some kind of flair and flavor that he can, or that the barbarian can be, that sets him apart. Because you're just muddy in the water, and everybody's going to be like everybody else, and then there's no individuality. Who cares what class you pick now?
Yeah, and I agree with that. We've had this discussion before, where each class should have its own unique characteristics, and the more everything has magic, the less the magic matters. Because now your barbarian can do stuff that they couldn't do before, and they can I don't know the spells the barbarian gets out of this by heart, but it's just it does, it muddies the waters, it takes away the specialty of the magic, and I just don't feel like a barbarian in particular even is appropriate magic wielder without being cross-classed. It just doesn't doesn't fit there. Well,
and there's reasons why in the multi-classing guide you have to meet certain requirements in your scores, right? So you can't be a barbarian most of the time. You can't be a barbarian that's also a wizard. It's just hard because you got to put your stats in one or the other. Where now if you're just giving the barbarian innate spell power, then you're taking away that multi-class or the idea of separated classes. And Val in our Waterdeep campaign is the first time I've ever multi-classed, and I'm kind of regretting it a little bit because we're level 4 characters, but the the Warlock that I'm tied to is only level 3, so I'm missing out on those things coming to me quicker. Yeah, I get sneak attack every now and then. Yeah, I get some expertise because I took a rogue, but man, I really want that ability score improvement now. I want that level 5 pack boon, and I'm missing out. And that top end, because you can only go to 20, that top end, I'll never get to 20 Warlock, and I don't know. It's kind of messing with me a little bit, but I don't totally regret it because I think I made the right choice thematically for my character. And if my Warlock was more muddied in the waters like we're talking about, I probably wouldn't have made that choice. And then so now I'm getting the cake and eating it too, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
So what I think, and maybe you hit it just right, Chris. And what I think is I love the ability to have so much flavor to your character. I love that you could take anything you want essentially now with some of these new things. Dipping into the homebrew world, all of this other stuff. You can have whatever you want with your character, but with multi-classing, to be able to have your cake and eat it too, you get a penalty, right? So you get a penalty at the end of the game if you ever make it to level 20.
Right.
You don't get those level 20 legendary skills. It's not possible.
Yep.
Because level 20 is the cap for D&D. Now, we did a poll on Twitter, and feel free if you're in the YouTube world to leave a comment. Have you ever reached level 20? It was less than 5%. And
right.
I think part of that 5% was even like, we did it just like as a one shot.
Yeah.
And so, okay, like, I get it, but it makes overpowered characters. And it makes, so if I want to go vanilla barbarian, I am now at a weakness or a disadvantage to barbarian that has magical powers, right? Because they can now do all of these other things that I couldn't do before.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But as for this, I think it's great. I love the idea of adding supplements. I kind of wish they would have done it in the Salt Marsh campaign.
Yeah. So that makes me wonder, like, where they are just in the playtesting of this. Maybe, you create something and then it spurs on new ideas. It would be nice to be included in there. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it's here that we can kind of mess around with it. So, but getting back into this, so we can kind of go through some of the features here. I like what they're doing now, and some of this stuff is they're giving you some ways to expand the flavor of your character. So they give you this little box text here that says the Lurker's clutches. Several features of the Lurker in the deep create tentacles or a maw that reach into the world. So either like, octopus tentacles or some kind of big mouth that's coming in. The form of these appendages should reflect the nature of your specific patron, right? So you get to kind of pick. You get some play there, and you get to decide what you want to be breaking out of the earth as it comes in. But like most Warlocks, you get some expended spell slots at first level. We don't need to go into those, I don't think. You're already looking at the document if you're into this. But at first level, you get Grasp of the Deep, and I think this is pretty awesome. So you gain the ability to magically summon a spectral tentacle that strikes at your foes. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot-long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet of you. The tentacle lasts 1 minute or until you use this feature to create another one. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against a creature within 10 feet of it. On a hit, the target takes 1d8 cold or lightning damage, your choice, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. You get damage increase at level 10. As a bonus action, you can move this around up to 30 feet and repeat the attack. You get summons equal to the number of your charisma modifier, and then you get these back on a long rest. So this is kind of like that spiritual weapon that clerics can cast. Once you do it, now you have, as a bonus action, you got another attack there. So you're getting two attacks, right? That 5th level second attack, you're getting it at 1st level, and this thing's doing some magic damage. So you're gonna break through anybody who's got, who's resistant to normal damage. You're gonna reduce its speed, so now you can kind of, maybe you're moving away from it. I'd like this a lot. I think it's pretty cool. What do you guys think?
I think it just adds flavor. I love it. I love the fact that you can do this. Like, and so when I think of these classes, I don't think of them in like just a generic RPG setting. I think of it in our game. And in our game, how well, which is shameless promotion, if you haven't watched our Waterdeep game, we do a great job of this. We RP so well. Every single person at the table does such an amazing job of RPing that with a tentacle like this, you're going to use it for more than just a straight attack, right?
Right.
You can use it for so much.
Yeah.
I love it. I put some negativity out there first, but I love the idea of almost like, so my kids have been watching The Descendants, and there's Ursula's daughter in there. It's kind of almost like Ursula's daughter, right? You're just, So.
Yeah, no, that didn't even come up in my mind, like an Ursula-like, character. You want to make a Disney character, this Ursula, and this is not overpowered, right? 1d8 on a hit, and then it only goes up to 2d8, and that's when you reach 10th level. So it's not there to break a game, and I think this is something built in to add flavor, to spice up combat. I think that's something like that can drag, but if you got something like this, that you're moving this tentacle around, and it's easy to build flair into the attack when everybody's seen an octopus tentacle, right? We know what it looks like, and it's kind of fun to build into the combat, spice it up a little bit. Secondly, at 1st level, Scion of the Deep. So at 1st level, your patron accepts you into its inner court of servitors. You can telepathically communicate with any aberration, beast, elemental, or monstrosity that has an innate swimming speed while it's within 120 feet of you. The creature can understand you, and you can respond telepathically. So again, at 1st level, we're getting, like, I'm looking at that thinking total flavor, right? Total RP moments where you're the one that can bail out your entire party. You have this ability, and nobody else is really going to have this ability at 1st level, right? You're the one. Travis, how do you feel?
It's interesting, but I mean, in the campaigns that I've played, Tomb of Annihilation and Waterdeep,
right?
No use. We are nowhere near water.
Right.
I'm getting a very Aquaman vibe from this, but in that like jokey kind of way, where like, oh, look what I can do! Hey, fish, come here! Oh, but they can't do anything. I know that there's a lot more monsters and stuff out there, but that's my initial thought.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem like it's going to have that much use unless you're calling a big monster that can attack, but then that kind of becomes an NPC that I don't know you'd be able to control. And otherwise you're just hitching a ride on a dolphin's tail or a fin or something. I don't see a lot of use out of this. At least maybe in RP situation. That's the only place I see that coming from.
Definitely right place, right time, right? So this would be something like you would have to sit with your DM and decide what kind of campaign are you going to be in. Are you ever going to see this? But then I think a good DM is going to know what some of your special abilities are and be able to highlight you and throw in a sewer encounter, like a sewer encounter where you are going to encounter some of these, so that at 1st level you can use this, you can let it flourish a little bit, and put it in the spotlight. Bob, what do you think?
I agree, and I think what it stands out for me in this entire idea of this is it does try and sell it towards a more water campaign, which, hey, what water campaign just came out, right? So I think it's just trying to add flavor to their already existing world, which isn't a bad thing. I love it. I love it. I love the ability. If you're going to have a seafaring campaign, I think it suffers from part of the problem that Rangers suffer from.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing.
Favored terrain. So,
Yeah.
Travis, you talked about our Tomb of Annihilation campaign. Vinny had a favored terrain. He had a favored monster. We never, ever, ever
Right.
encountered that monster.
Right.
And so it's like, you know,
It's kind of a bummer, right?
yeah. So if you go die hard into this, you make this water-faring character, and you don't ever see water, you know, probably shame on the DM, but you know,
Yeah, so that comes back to the many talks we've had of, you know, talking to your DM, session zeros, making sure you know what kind of campaign you can expect, so that your cool shit that your character can do can actually be done.
right.
Because if you never use this, then why the hell did we pick this guy? You know, I'm going to steer, as a DM, I would steer you toward a different class. Like, well, you might get it, but most likely not, you know. But yeah, Rangers came to mind.
Exactly, like right away.
So you get from first level to sixth level, you get your normal Warlock stuff. And then you get, at sixth level, you get the Fathomless Soul. At sixth level, your patron grants you greater abilities. You gain breathing both air and water, a swimming speed, and resistance to cold damage. So, again, in the right setting, you are now setting yourself apart from everybody else, right? If you're in a water-based campaign, you're that one guy.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's another one in there that's got some potions of water breathing, but you're the one. You can dive in, and you can always hopefully save the day, right?
You are Neo.
And you are Neo.
Sorry.
And cold damage. I don't know what the breakdown is of monsters that do cold damage, but it's always nice to have. It's always nice to have those kind of in your back pocket. Those little things, and like, oh, I can I have resistance to get that, you know, and it's going to save you sometime. And if it only saves you once, I think that's kind of cool.
Would have been great for the Oni. It's this cone of cold.
God damn.
But
yeah,
what I don't love about this is that it's level 6. Like, it's obviously very powerful ability, but we're level 4 in Waterdeep right now, and we're almost done. This is going to be really well suited for something where you're gaining a lot of XP, or it's a long-term campaign.
Yeah. So exactly. Now we're getting into those levels, those kind of untouchable levels. You know, those ones that don't get a lot of play unless you start your campaign at a level 5 or level 3.
I mean, level 6 is pretty regular.
Level 6, I think we're there. But I mean, I've played 2 level 6 characters in my life outside of, you know, the upper level one shots. You know, so it's not something you're getting there a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
It's there.
I think it's cool.
You do get one more upgrade at level 6. That's the Guardian Grasp. So now we're going back to that tentacle that you can summon as a bonus action and move around. At 6th level, it defends you and others. When a creature you can see takes damage while within 10 feet of this tentacle, you can use your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage by the chosen creature by half. After doing so, the tentacle vanishes.
I think that, yeah.
A perfectly timed Guardian Grasp is going to save the life of a party member, right?
Absolutely.
Like, so let's say I'm going back to Waterdeep. We have Manshun shooting that lightning bolt, right? If that tentacle's out there, he can swipe, you know, save one of either Jax or Templeton, you know, and right timing, right place.
Is that making it hard? Hard decision to do.
Oh yeah, who you gonna choose?
Who you save?
But it's kind of cool because you're gonna have this tentacle out, right? So I imagine in combat you're gonna summon this thing and then bonus action use it. Right. So you're gonna have it there. You're gonna have it as kind of not a meat shield, but out there in the battle while the Warlock is behind. So it's gonna be there. So you have decisions to make. Now when the big bad throws out his big fireball or whatever, like his insta kill, you got a choice to make, and you're gonna lose your Guardian Grasp. But you have, I would say you'd probably have 3 or so castings of this because it's your charisma modifier. and I imagine you're at 6th level. You're up to 3 or 4
Pretty
modifier. But so there's that, and then you don't get anything in this until 10th level, which this one's kind of cool. But again, we're getting into those levels where I hope I get here and am able to use this. So at 10th level, you can draw forth a manifestation of your patron's insatiable hunger. As an action, choose a point you can see within 60 feet. For 1 minute, a translucent maw manifests in a 10-foot radius centered on that point. Each creature in that area, when the maw appears, must succeed on a strength saving throw against your spell save DC or be restrained. Any creature that starts its turn in the maw's area takes 3d6 cold or lightning. You get to choose after when the damage is in effect. As an action, a restrained creature can repeat the saving throw. At the start of your turn, if there's a creature in the maw's area, you gain temporary hit points equal to your warlock level. Once you use this feature, you can't do it again until a short or long rest. So this is like typical warlock spells back on a short rest. So I kind of it's cool. Again, this is like flavorful, spicy combat, right? This huge jaw coming out of the ground and you know, like essentially like swallowing up people, restraining them. 3d6, that's a decent number of damage, but it's those temporary hit points that I think is the sprinkles on top.
Agreed. I agree. I love it, and like I said before, I think it's great. I think it's going to add so much to the flavor of combat, because that probably is one of the biggest complaints that people have now, is the combat's boring, and it relies on the party and the DM and to make combat. If you go straight raw core book, it's boring, right? You just I'm going to hit this guy, right? Yeah. So I love it. I think it's great. I'm fully in behind this whole thing.
I don't, and it'll last for a minute, so I don't know if you can move it, though. That's the thing. As an action, choose a point you can see within 60 feet of you, and now you have this 10-foot radius. So, like, a doorway, a path is going to be your friend, but, like, I'm thinking if you're just in this open field or the open ocean, I'm just going around it, so you're kind of, like, okay, you had to use a little bit of extra movement, and now it's just there. So I'm glad it comes back on a short rest then, because it can be kind of circumnavigated, wasted a little bit. I'm trying to think of what. So my Storm King's Thunder, they have a spell that I can't remember what it is, but they'll throw it out, and then we were in this huge area, and all the bad guys just like go around it, you know. And he was playing a warlock too, so it was like one of those coveted spell slots, and now it's just, you know, it's kind of wasted.
Right.
So definitely you got to pick the right times to do this. We do get the rules on temporary hit points not stacking. I'm glad this was out because I was doing it wrong. So it's good to know you can't stack your hit points. That you can replenish, though. So, all right. 14th level, we get Unleash the Depths. This one is almost, I don't want to say game-breaking, but like game-changing for sure. 14th level, you gain the ability to call upon your patron for aid. As an action, you choose a point within 30 feet of you where your patron tears through reality, manifesting a measure of the thalassic grandeur. Choose one of the following effects to issue from this manifestation point. Once you use either effect, you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. So you can choose to transport, or you can choose Fury. Transport, you and 5 willing creatures of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of the manifestation are grasped by the spectral tentacles and yanked through the patron's realm. The tentacles teleport you and the chosen creatures to a point of your choice within 100 miles that you have visited within the past 24 hours. The tentacles then vanish.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Dude, that is game breaking. It would be tough as a DM to just be like, oh, I'm cool with this.
Right. So I'm thinking back to Tomb of Annihilation, right? We're getting our ass kicked. Okay, fuck it. Let's get out of here. Let's go regroup.
Funny story. That wouldn't work into him. There was
so there's some kind of anti-magic field or whatever, but something like that where you're just getting waxed. Like, okay, let's get out of here. I like that that's there as kind of a safety net for your party. I think so. You get it back after a long rest. It almost seems like that should be like maybe a couple days. You know what I mean? Like there are some spells or effects out there that are like you can only do this once a week. You know, just because it's so draining. I feel like I wouldn't want this to be overused. You know what I mean? Because anytime you try to up the ante as a DM, they're just like, okay, we're coming out.
Well, and how do you stop that from being overused? Though I think that's part of the concern. Would be it's just there. It can use it whenever you want.
Right. I would think the patron is going to start demanding a little bit more. If this thing's used all the time, that patron's going to visit you a little bit more. It's going to make sure that you are paying up because this is an expensive ability. This is an expensive tool, and you're constantly calling on this Kraken to come and save your ass. You know, well, it's time to pay the piper. You know. The second one is Fury. You direct a barrage of spectral tentacles to issue forth and strike up to 5 creatures you can see within 30 feet of the manifestation point. Each target makes a dexterity saving throw against your DC. On a failed save, the creature takes 6 D10 cold or lightning and is knocked prone. On a successful save, it takes half damage and is not knocked prone. The tentacles then vanish. So, kind of cool. You're able, like, you know, area effect, kind of knock down a bunch of people. And, like, I guess you're level 14, so what would be the typical kind of cannon fodder that's coming at you at level 14?
Yeah. I mean, level 14 is really tough.
Yeah, so I don't know that you're going to one-shot a bunch of, you know, like, I'm thinking, like, lower-level goblins coming at you.
Right.
You know, you could just just tentacles just wiping them off the board. But you're definitely going to put a big dent with 6d10. You know, what is that, like 30 point minimum or average?
I would agree. That's going to be really tough to do.
Right, and now you got a vast amount of people that have taken some damage, at least if they failed. But and again, I'm thinking like the DM side, like these things are going to cost you.
Oh yeah.
As a player, like, because I'm not gonna let you just thump this attack or get out of there. Like, it's gonna cost you.
So, as a DM, though, how are you going to keep some of these things from happening? Like transport, I can make some sense out of, like with some kind of magical barrier or something. How are you going to deny Fury in a way that doesn't totally like piss off your player? I have no idea. I've never DM'd, so I'm just curious how you would approach that in either. I mean, transport or Fury. Honestly,
that's tough.
Well, I'll step aside for the DM here if he wants to fill in first. But I know what I would kind of do, or at least an idea of what I would do, and I think it would come out in like early session, knowing that this exists. Like, hey, if we get there, know that these are going to cost you. Like your patron owns you as a warlock, right? And if you're going to call on them constantly, they're going to call back on you. So whatever pact you have made with your patron, like, it's going to have to pay up, you know? And I think that's the way you do it. So you make the player really have to think about it. Is now the time? Is now the time that I want this to come out? Or can I wait?
But then is that a DM handcuffing a player?
Well, and I think that's when it comes out early. Like, get this out of the way early. You know what I mean? We know this stuff exists. We know it's there. I don't want to handcuff you.
Right.
But I also don't want you breaking the game. I don't like using game breaking because I don't think it does. It's just, it makes things a little more tricky. But I want to make sure, like, to me, you're just being true to the character, to the way warlocks are written, right? Patrons are the one tying your hand, not the DM. You know what I mean? Like, the patrons are the one that's keeping their thumb on top of you, keeping you oppressed and keeping you in check. Not so much the DM. So just open lines of communication so that you're not just slipping the rug out from under them. You're making sure that it's something that's been thought about.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but like part of me on the player side, like if it's there for a reason for the players to use.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I don't want to be the one that goes, yeah,
Right.
about that. Sorry.
Exactly why I asked the question.
Yeah. So again, getting those dialogues started early, I think. And again, who knows? Who knows, like, what's going to happen? But
yeah.
And this is playtest material, so it could be a changed product in the end of it, anyways. And that's all. That's all you get. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
I was gonna say, going back to transport a little bit. My initial thought was, wow, 100 miles is a long distance. But then I remembered or noticed, because I missed it when you said it, the 24-hour rule.
Right.
You have to have visited it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of places you could have visited within 24 hours, but at least that keeps it very limited, because 100 miles is a long way to transfer. So, and that seems like it's pretty well within the range of, if you're fighting something big, like, say, the Asarak at Tomb of Annihilation, I imagine he could very well just appear where you went. So at least there's a decent restriction there. I do like that.
Yeah, and typically, I mean, if you're on foot, you're going 30 miles a day, maybe. That might be a little much on foot. On carriage, you're going 30 miles a day. So in a linear, so the DM's going to have a good idea of where you're going to transport to. So that's not going to be too, like, out of left field for the DM. I think it's cool. I love it. I love both of them, Transport and Fury. I would be a little hesitant being a DM with this out there. But that's the DM's job, is to figure out ways to, play the players, right? Counteract them and make sure that it's challenging for them, not to handcuff them, but make sure things are challenging and fun.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I'm in no way, like, advocating for the DM to take things away from their players. I'm just
you did.
I just want to make sure that fun is being had. But along with this, so that's it for you get all your normal Warlock stuff outside of that. But there is a new spell here, a cantrip. It's a psionic themed spell called Mind Sliver, usable by sorcerer, warlock, and wizards. This is a cantrip, so one action, range of 60 feet, verbal, duration 1 round. So you drive a disorienting spike of psychic energy into the mind of one creature that you can see within range. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. Unless the saving throw is successful, the target takes 1d6 psychic damage. But wait, there's more. And the first time, and this is weird, this is going to take planning, but the first time it makes a saving throw before the end of your next turn, it must roll a d4 and subtract that number from the save. And then you get your normal increases in damage. So it's 1d6 psychic damage. What are you going to come across that has immunity to psychic damage? Not a whole lot, especially, using these cantrips. But if you are in tune with a party member that has spells for saving throws, you're helping them out. So you're kind of a support in that way. I like these spells that add these disabilities, and not just like, hey, you have disadvantage, but D4. So it's not game breaking. You're
just chipping.
Yeah, you're helping out. It's gonna save you one time, but it's not overwhelmingly enough. Mind Spike is probably not going to be, or Mind Sliver, excuse me, it's not going to be all that used. I mean, you have Eldritch Blast, use that.
Yeah. I think for me, I love them. One thing that kind of irks me personally is all of these Unearthed Arcanas that get released have their own little spell, but there's no, like, one place for them all. I would love to have just a released book, PDF of everything that's been released.
Please. Right.
Outside of,
PHB. Yeah. Xanathars.
Right.
Yeah.
And that way, I can figure out what I'm doing, because like it is so hard to find it. Now I will say there are very good websites that do this already, like Don John does it. There's a few others that put them all together, but then that's also a problem in the fact that if your DM doesn't allow outside material, because Don John and I think it's D&D 5e Wiki or something it does have some homebrew in there, so it can be tough to navigate. That's why I kind of want an official, here's everything that was released supplement guide.
Even just something on their website that links you to each thing. Because if I when I went to go find the Artificer at first, it took me a little while to find it before they released the modification. It's very disorganized. You kind of have to do it all yourself, or hope somebody else is doing it for you.
Yeah, so the casual D&D player's probably not going to get into this kind of stuff, right? This is more for those people that are into it and really want to dig deep. I will say with D&D Beyond has Mindsliver already in there, so you can access that. You can. I don't think it's locked behind. It's not locked behind a paywall or anything. You don't have to buy any content yet. But yeah, I agree with you. It would be nice to have a consolidated, like, hey, here's all the new shit. But it's going to be in some book that's coming out. That's in the pipe, down the pipe. It's coming. But that's one of the frustrations. That's the hit to the pocketbook. Is if you want all of these things, especially in D Beyond, you got to buy all the books and all the supplements and such. So.
All in all, I really like it.
I do too.
I'm kind of wishing that, because this one's water themed, I kind of feel like it'd be cool if they had made variations for like a lava fire type or something.
That's a great idea.
With the same stuff, just it's fire now instead of that.
Well,
I think just that alone would be a really cool addition, because then you can kind of mix it up with what you want your character to be, and it makes it more adaptable to different worlds.
Hey, wizards. Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah. But so I think that's an easy fix if getting with your DM, talking about that, because it could be something from the deep ocean or from the elemental plane of water. I think you can easily say, okay, I'm coming from the elemental plane of fire. Instead of tentacles, I just want like magma tentacles coming out and grasping, magma, a liquid hut. So it wouldn't be too hard to kind of reskin some of that. And make sure, I like fire better, so let's make that happen.
Yeah, I agree.
But then you're getting kind of weird when it gets into the swimming speed and that kind of stuff. But
you could swim in magma.
True.
You could figure it out. So that's the Warlock. I don't think we're gonna have time to get to the Sorcerer. Maybe we'll save that one, put that in the back pocket. But I will say these are linked on the D&D Dungeons & Dragons website. Check them out. Play with them. They do have surveys out there after a while that you can give your feedback, and they love your feedback. Right now, the survey is out for the Barbarian and what was the other one? Monk. There's a monk. Barbarian and a monk. The survey's out for that. So if you've played those and you've kind of got your hands dirty, please give them the feedback, because the more that we give them, the more they're going to give us, and I think that's a good thing. At some point, it's going to be too much, but I think it's a good thing. I like this.
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. So I think that's it, guys. That's all we have for FeatherFall TableTalk. That's right, you heard it. In case you missed those announcements, we are changed to FeatherFall TableTop. This is our weekly show, TableTalk. It's a twister. But I will say to everybody out there who's listening to this or has listened, thank you so much for just being a supporter of what we are doing. And honestly, we wouldn't have gone through this name change and some of the hurdles that presented itself with that if we didn't have people out there listening to us and supporting us and showing up on our streams and hanging out. You guys make it, everybody out there just makes it worth it, and we really appreciate that. So know that you are not forgotten in all of this mix-up. Well, not mix-up. I don't want to say mix-up. It's just rebranding and shuffling around. But there we are. So legendary action, you did. It's okay though. You shut up at the end. But again, thank you for anybody that's out there, podcast land. We don't know who you are, but I see the numbers and we appreciate you. Those numbers are climbing all the time, and it's super fun and interesting to watch that happen, knowing that people are out there. But we appreciate everybody out there. We are FeatherFall Tabletop. Thanks for hanging out. That's the Table Talk session. We'll see you Wednesday. Wednesday for Waterdeep, guys.
It's usually tomorrow, man. I'm like, now I want to play Waterdeep tomorrow.
It's a
son of a bee.
Fractured timelines, guys.
Yeah, Wednesday.
We'll see ya.
Bye.